Your talent. What is your talent?
Having a slippery body that bounces.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up! Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is morning somewhere for October 3rd, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. Her body's not slippery, nor did it bounce. How dare you think about her like that?
It went on a good day,
Ashley
but
Burns.
is today a good day?
It's I don't know. I got a bummer bit of news today that, like, personal pet peeve of mine. You sent the link, and I want to know more about this story.
I know. I knew that this would make you mad when I sent it to you, but I felt like you would want me to send it to you anyway because this is something that you, I wouldn't say enjoy being mad about, but it's something you feel is important that you're mad about.
There are certain things, and there's a few things on the internet that fall into a classification where I feel like I have to engage in them, like I have a responsibility to engage in them, even though I don't want to, even though I don't want to talk about it and I don't want to see it. And one of these things is the ongoing anger that I have over plastic recycling and how plastic is recycled.
Or the lack thereof. We a few months ago, actually, we talked about there was a documentary that was the NPR that did the sort of like audio documentary, the interview series.
Planet Money. So this was actually we can plug our own thing here. I was looking up on our lovely wiki database that we have for our patrons.
We have a transcript wiki database on our website that's accessible to all our patrons. We recently have now opened that up to the $5 tier on our Patreon. So if you're ever like, when did they talk about that thing? You can search in the website, and there's a transcript of every episode that we've done. And we've done, Bernie, a lot of episodes. And you can find exactly when we talked about something that's been just chewing at the back of your mind.
We talked about this February 13th, 2024. So it's over 6 months ago. Can you believe that, first of all? It's over 6 months ago, so I feel like we can talk about it again. There was a piece that was done by NPR, Planet Money, where they talked about where did the recycling symbol come from and what is the current state and the origin of plastic recycling. And spoiler, I think you should go out and you should listen to this. I said this exact same thing in the February episode. I think it's important for you to listen to that episode. We will link it in the link dump. It'll kind of open your eyes as to what, I'll call it what it is. Because sometimes you don't want to say these things because you don't want to make people cynical or something like that. But the myth of plastic recycling, that you go through all this effort to recycle your plastic and everything. We got these little caps, that were in the EU and the UK where now you can't disconnect them from the bottle. But then you find out nothing happens to it. It just it gets thrown away with the rest of the trash. Like they take that particular bin and they put it with everything else. It's gotten a little better since this article came out in 2020, but not much because the newest article that you're reading here is that 2 huge local grocery store chains here in the UK have been taking all of their plastic recycling that they have these big bins outside the front door. Everyone turns in their soft plastics, they're called here, and makes a big effort to do it, and then we find out they're just being burned.
Yeah, or thrown away or whatever. So this is specifically here in the UK. We have Tesco and Sainsbury's. So they're local grocery store chains, but they're 2 of the big chains.
They're no Waitrose, I'll tell you that.
Thank you, Kevin. And so the way you separate out your recycling here, at least, is things like plastic bags, what they call soft plastics. So any like little plastic wrappings, things like that, they go in a separate sort of category called soft plastics. Those are typically not recycled curbside. So you save your plastic bags, you stuff them all in another plastic bag, and then the next time you go to the Tesco or the Sainsbury's, outside the front doors, there is this enormous bin that you drop your soft plastics into. Like, they can take care of it. You can't take care of it, but they'll take care of these for you.
Can they? Can they?
Well,
can they?
I mean, depends on what you mean by take care of. They just, if you mean
take care of
take
it?
out, yeah, they're gonna take care of that. You're gonna take it out back and burn it. So there was an environmental group that basically put trackers in a bunch of bundles of plastic and then dropped them off and then tracked where they went. A bunch of them ended up being exported to other countries. Turkey was a big one, apparently, where they were then just burned. And
Now, when they were just burned, were they burned for a purpose? Because there was some of these things that were burned for energy, which is how much energy are you getting out of plastic when you burn it? Seems like a convenient way to burn it and call it like some kind of use.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know how much. A lot of them were burned, they say, for energy, but that is, as far as I'm concerned, just greenwashing. You're still burning plastic. And something like over 70% of what was donated was just either thrown in the trash or burnt, like exported to a poorer country and burnt.
Downcycled.
Downcycling,
Yeah.
yes. Which, it's unfortunate because I feel like this is a continuation of what we talked about in February, where they make you think there's a solution, right?
There is.
And there is.
There is a solution. It is make less plastic. That's the solution.
But this is like it's like industry greenwashing, right? Where they make you think that there's a solution and this can get reused, and really it's not a problem at all. And so you don't worry about it to the degree that perhaps we should all be worrying about it, because we think that someone smarter is on it. And we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're separating our things out. We wheel the recycling bins out every week. We do what we're supposed to do. And they'll take that stuff and they'll reuse it, right? So it's not such a problem. And then you find out that, oh, it's just getting trashed or burned or, whatever. It's not going to be turned into new plastic bags or, I don't know, sweaters.
Or in the case of what JD and I found, because we have this project we do once a year, which I would highly recommend that you do in your household, where we, at the first of the year, we try to save as much plastic as we can. We literally try to save all the plastic that comes into the house.
I remember you started in January. This was a goal that you had. You were going to save all plastic that came into the house to see how much plastic you accumulated over the course of a year.
It was the second year in a row we tried it. I think the first year we made it about 2 weeks before it was an ungodly amount of plastic.
We just don't have enough house for that.
The second year we made it almost a month, and it was an ungodly amount of plastic. And we found a company down south of here. It's so weird when people say down south, by the way, in Scotland, and they mean England or the borders. It's just, I'm like, down
They'll be like,
south.
they're like down in the borders.
Yeah.
The what? Oh, right. Multiple countries in the country.
The borders here were at one point kind of like Reno in the U.S., where the borders were the only place where you could either get divorced or you could get married at a young age or something.
I believe
for English people.
I believe it's Gretna Green, and it's just across the border in Scotland. So a lot of English kids would run away and get married.
So
and
I'm
I'm not
getting
sure
married
if it was
young.
like they needed lack of documentation or whatever it was, but they could run away to Gretna Green, and I know about that because I read Pride and Prejudice.
Is that what it was? Okay. But they talk about going down south, and JD and I looked, and down south there is a place that you can give them all of your plastics, and they will repurpose them and turn them into a canoe. And I'm not exactly sure how much plastic you need, but we started accumulating a lot of plastic. It's too much, Ashley. It's just too much.
So you're saying we're not getting a canoe?
What I'm saying is, I feel like you got to walk a line when you talk about this stuff. And I was reading over the transcript in our lovely wiki database from February 13th and talked about this there too. Like, you don't want to say anything that turns people off to environmentalism as a whole, but you got to be able to approach this in a way that what you're doing is effective. You know what I mean? And if we're just kind of like doing this song and dance with some of these things, just concentrate on the things you can do. I think the plastic recycling thing masks what the real effort is. We should be trying to reduce the amount of this garbage that we're making constantly. I mean, how many times do you read about you're finding microplastics in people's brains now, or in your testicles, depending on which one you find
Not
more,
my testicles.
which one you find more horrific.
Hashtag not my testicles.
Well, they're all testicles, Ashley. So any testicles that you interact with have microplastics as well. But you don't want to make people cynical and have them turn off, but you got to talk about what's real and what's effective. And every time I'm reading about plastic recycling, it just seems like, what are we doing? Just make less of this stuff.
You read these things and they put a dent in your confidence in what's being done, right? Because there are things being done. People are using plastics in a lot of new ways. They're finding ways to reuse them when they can't be recycled. There are a lot of good things going on. But then you read things like this where you're like, oh, I thought I was doing this good thing. It takes a lot of effort to collect all those bags and then remember to put them in the goddamn car and then remember to get them out of the goddamn car when you get to the grocery store and put them in the bin. It's a lot of what they call now mental load.
Right. Well, I was
Like you
gonna
just
say.
have to have it in your mind all the time that you're doing this thing and you're putting your energy into it, only to find out that no one else is putting their energy into it, unless they're burning it for energy.
Like your effort ends in a dead end. But listening to you describe that, that's what worries me. Is you do have this guilt, right? Or these negative feelings about having to participate in this because you're not doing your part. And then when you comes out, they find out that it's not going anywhere. Then you're like, well, what the hell? Like I was dealing with, added all this to my daily life. And what did it lead to?
Yeah, I think it leads to kind of a similar mindset as well, as the people will look at corporate pollution and things like that and be like, well, what does it matter if I don't recycle? Because it's not like the company's doing it. But at the end of the day, it's one more bottle, right?
Yeah, it's one more bottle. Oh, here, I'm going to spin this here, Ash, and I'm going to make it positive here at the end. That even the experiments that JD and I have run of trying to collect our own plastic, they have all ended in failure for collecting the plastic and repurposing it. But what they have done is they have informed our decisions going forward. I think about it all the time. Every time I'm going to buy something, if I can buy it without plastic, or I cannot get the plastic packaging, or I cannot get the plastic version of it, it informs my choices when I go in the future to purchase something. And I think that's important.
And if I may make a request, it's to, since we're talking about grocery stores and food pipeline, I'll stick to that. I would like to request that like food manufacturers maybe stop doing things like peeling oranges and then packaging them in plastic to keep them safe.
Yeah.
There's something that can keep them safe already. It's the peel. I know it will save us like 2 seconds and maybe a little bit of like orange under the fingernails if we get one that's already peeled. But come on, guys. It's too much.
I forget what it was, but we ordered something, I remember, and it came in a box that was wrapped in plastic. We took that plastic off. We were like, shit, why did they wrap this in plastic? And then on the inside, every individual component was wrapped in plastic. And I remember how disappointed we were opening this thing up and being like, God damn it.
Yeah, so we'll put a link to this in the link dump, and we'll also put a link to the Planet Money in the link dump once again, because it is important to listen to. Maybe not first thing in the morning, because that's depressing, but after you've had a coffee and you're ready to tackle the world and take a little bit of depression, by all means.
Also, all you smarty pants out there in the community, prove us wrong. I hope to God somebody works in plastic recycling and says, no, this is what we're doing and this is what you can do with your plastic.
I would love that. I would love
Please
to hear
prove us
more
wrong.
about it by industry experts. I was going to ask you about something before I got all worked up.
What are you going to work? What are you gonna ask
We're
me about?
recording a little bit early this morning, so I'm fresh.
An hour early.
But it's early. But I'm fresh out of bed. I'm fresh out of my dreams, and I have a question for you, Bernie. Do you find that when you're consuming a specific type of media, your dreams take like a specific format?
No. My dreams are their own thing, man.
Really?
Yeah.
So I've been, I mentioned it a day or two ago, I've been reading, or more specifically listening to this Dungeon Crawler Carl series of books. And my dreams are all taking place in that format. Like they're all in like video game reality show format.
Let me ask you this. You play a billion video games. Why is reading this book in particular?
It's not just this one.
Oh, okay.
If I spend a lot of time playing a video game, my dreams take place in that. Like when I'm on a Persona bender, I'm having like Persona format dreams. Like it's whatever a dream would normally be, but somehow presented in that way.
It doesn't sound weird. I feel like I've built up an immunity to certain types of media affecting my dreams. Like they're not, my brain doesn't use that as part of the bank. I do, mine are more about conversations I had that day or something. But like I can play State of Decay, that zombie game. I could play that for a week straight every single day and not dream about zombies.
You don't have zombie dreams?
No.
Really?
I used to, but I felt like I said, I've built up an immunity to certain forms of media. Otherwise, my brain's like, oh, look, dude, you're the day walkers that are dealing with all our media consumption. If I had to base my dreams on y'all stuff, then I'm going to be making the same fucking dreams every day. My brain is an artist. It's like my dream center's like, no, we're doing our own thing here.
No,
we're going abstract.
You know what though? I really enjoy it. It's I don't remember any of the dreams except waking up going, oh yeah, that was definitely like in format. But whenever I'm reading something, I'm going like through a whole series, and I've been putting a lot of time and energy into that series. And then I like dream in the same way that I guess I imagine or picture the series. It's fun.
Yeah. I kind of would like it more, but I think my brain is protecting me. It's like
From zombies?
Well, it's like the Sainsbury Tesco of my mind is just like it's taking in all this material and just going, oh great, we'll use this, burn. Like, oh, another trash sci-fi novel, okay, burn.
Well, or maybe, Bernie, it has something to do with you just play nightmare material for funsies.
I dream about the kids a lot.
Do you?
Dude, I had a dream the other day that we went out of town and we left the baby with just a bowl of food and water, like mush or something. Like it's only going to be 3 days, Ashley. The baby will be fine. And then it's like I'm at wherever our destination was. And then I was just thinking, why did we do that? That's the stupidest idea ever. Like my brain makes up this dumb scenario and then my brain gets scared of its own made up scenario. How is that even possible?
Look, brains. Yeah, sometimes it's just got to participate in its own. Oh, spooky. Oh, speaking of spooky.
I bet if you could record your dreams,
Yep.
I bet they would be nothing. I bet they would be like
Just a bunch of nonsense.
Just snapshots of random ideas and your brain assigning emotions to them. Like it would be like a fifth grader or a 5-year-old telling you a story. They'd be like,
and then,
look at this. This is so scary.
And then it exploded, and then they were jumped off a cliff.
This is a bad guy. Look how bad he is. You'd be like, okay, thanks, dude. Yeah.
I always think of it as it's probably very like AI generated. If you look too long, the fingers are wrong.
Yes. Absolutely. It would be kind of scary, the images your brain just makes while you're sleeping.
Right, because it's like old cinema, right? They could do the Godfather voiceover thing. I talked to Bazzini because no one was going to see that or hear that, and they could pause it, they couldn't rewind it. And as far as your brain's concerned, this is like the most limited series ever. It's never going to be viewed again. You're not going to back it up. You're not even going to remember it.
So there's a weird thing where when you wake up and you try to hold on to a dream and it's like holding sand. We talked about this before as well, and it just slips through your fingers. It's kind of strange to me. One of the weirdest tricks your brain can pull on you is that your brain can remember how much it liked or disliked an idea, but then doesn't remember the idea. It's so strange to me.
It's like almost like a troll in the way your brain is built.
Yes, it's so bizarre. I have to say though, there's a thing that came up recently. You and I were talking about that thing about you can't remember and the dream just slips away. There's this weird thing, and I don't want to put this in anybody's head, but here we go. They don't really understand how general anesthesia works. That when they just knock somebody out for surgery, they're not entirely certain the mechanism by how that happens. They're just not sure. And every now and then there's an article like they're getting a little bit sure. They think it might be this or whatever. There's also a weird theory out there that it just doesn't. That general anesthesia, the part of it that paralyzes you, and then the part that knocks you out, doesn't really knock you out. It just makes you forget afterwards. And that's
so dark.
It's horrifying if you think about it. But is it? Because if you don't remember it, then so it's...
This feels like... Okay. This is feeling a little bit like medical conspiracy theory because I feel like if
it totally is. It totally is.
Like patients would be screaming on the table, right?
No, because they're paralyzed from the paralytic that they give them, so that they don't thrash around when you're operating on them.
I'm not sure I buy that.
And then they wake them up and they go, "Did you feel anything?" And they go, "No, I didn't."
And then they go,
"But if you don't, what's the difference between if you don't make a memory for it? What's the difference?" It sounds horrifying. But if you have no memory of it, as long as that memory can never come back, then what's the difference, right?
Well, I mean, it still means you experience it. Who's going to want to operate on a baby?
So dark.
If you're like they're experiencing it, even if they don't remember it.
You made this conversation 20,000 times worse with that statement. Good Lord. Why we can't go back to talking about nice things about baby, like leaving them alone with a bowl of food? I don't even know what the food was. Was it like kibble of some kind?
It sounds like kibble. You just like sprinkle in a bowl. It's Fruit Loops.
There you go. Eat up, kid.
Go wild, kid.
Oh my God.
No, but I was actually going to take the the sort of dreaming and subject matter, like in a format, in a slightly different direction, and let you know that I've started watching the Disney series Agatha All Along. It's the spin-off of WandaVision that follows Agatha Harkness, the sort of villain that was in WandaVision.
It seems cool. I've kind of like watched it on the side. Does it start like in the middle of WandaVision, like she's in one of the shows?
No. So if you remember, at the end of WandaVision, she basically got sealed back into a character, right? So Agatha's consciousness, spoilers, got sealed.
I'm nodding along, and no, I did not remember that, but now I do.
Okay.
There's a lot of media out there.
There is a lot of media out there. It's fine because that's like an ending detail. But at the beginning of this Agatha All Along series, she's basically it's a throwback to WandaVision. She's in a TV show.
Okay.
Funny
So
twist
it's
to that
afterwards,
is,
but she got trapped in the TV show.
yes, sort of. Except she's living in the town. No one else got trapped in the TV show.
So she's in a TV show by herself?
She thinks she is.
Oh.
She's sealed in a character. So it's just kind of a fun way to start the series. So far, it's a much lower stakes.
It was a cool premise.
It's a much more personal stakes than a lot of the other Marvel properties have been recently, where you can't just have like a neighborhood issue. They've all got to be like world-ending villains or like global stakes. This is so far very personal stakes, and so I'm enjoying that.
Well, I have to say though too, there is a cynic inside of me, the skeptic, who's like, did they come up with the perfect title for this premise, WandaVision, where she traps this town inside of like sitcoms and stuff? Or did they come up with the title first and then base the premise off of that? Am I watching basically a pun? Is that what I'm doing? Because I like this show, but did some writer come up with a pun and then we all had to watch, 8 weeks or whatever of this pun being explored? I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that.
If it was that good a pun, it could be worth it.
I guess so. We'll see. All right. Well, anything else going on in the world today, Ashley?
Well, we got some people to thank. I want to say a big thank you to Liam and Pro Santoyo. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere. And you lucky dogs, you have guaranteed access to the transcript wiki.
Now you can see everything that we talked about before and see if we ever repeat ourselves. Never, ever happens,
Never,
Ashley.
never, ever. We may turn into like a Furiosa podcast for a month or here and there, but repeat, never.
All right, well, that does it for us today, October 3rd, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.